Okay, with that, we are joined now by Caroline Fenton, Yahoo Sports, joining us on the program. Caroline,
Hello.
to get you on the show. You know why I wanted to have you on the show? I mean, obviously because I love you.
Because you love talking with me. That's why.
I do. But at some point, I wanted to recap not just the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl week, but everything that happened Super Bowl week on the air and off the air and everything else. That is what I wanted to go through all of it. So let's start at the very top. What's that?
Like Club Shay Shay?
So if you're looking at the stream, it does say Caroline Fenton, Yahoo Sports, number 3 on Jared Stillman's best take list.
Honored.
But we also have this one that says
2-time attendee. Not the Club Shay Shay party. No. Just Club Shay Shay.
Club Shay Shay.
Club Shay Shay goes where the Super Bowl goes.
The last year at the Super Bowl, the New Orleans Super Bowl, we went to the volume party. We weren't invited to it, but Hutton told us about it. And so we tagged along with Hutton and Clay and Chad Withrow because they told us, drop this guy's name. It's a guy, Bob Millheiser. I don't know if I should say that that's who it is, but
yeah, maybe not. But Bob's a great guy.
Bob is a great freaking guy. But I didn't know Bob. But Hutton was like, drop Bob's name at the door and that'll get you in.
Which is like half of Super Bowl parties. Like somebody just tells you the person that gets you the in, you say the name, you go in.
So so we dropped Bob's name and we got into the party. And then we met Bob and we freaking loved Bob.
Love Bob.
And somehow me, you, Bob, and John Middlecoff, who, congratulations to him. He's now on Netflix doing his show. The four of us,
great guy,
ended up at the Club Shay Shay party last year, which was inside a mall. And it was in this restaurant like J. Alexander's. But it was absolutely Club Shay Shay. Shannon was at the top of his game. And every good player from the 90s, Michael Irvin, Marshall Faulk, Warren Moon, like every good player from the 90s was there at the Club Shay Shay party.
Stephen A. was there.
Stephen A. was there. Did you see Stephen A. walking out of the Shay Shay party this year?
Yes.
I mean, he was styling and profiling.
Also 2-time attendee of Club Shay Shay.
He is a 2-time attendee of Club Shay Shay. So then this year we go to the volume party, and we actually were on the list this year. We didn't have to drop names in order to get in or anything like that. So we went to the volume party. We saw Bob. We saw Middlecoff, and we were all like, Club Shay Shay. And then somehow the Hutton was like, hey, we're all going to the Club Shay Shay party.
Bob's like, I've got a car.
We ended up in this giant SUV. Caroline and Bob were stuffed in the back, and we ended up at the Club Shay Shay party. So Caroline Fenton, 2-time attendee of the Club Shay Shay party. Caroline, I want to start with this. Have I been validated and vindicated on the Sam Darnold front now that Sam Darnold has won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks?
Is there any better validation or vindication than winning a Super Bowl? Like that's the pinnacle. That's what we use as, if this guy wins a Super Bowl, then fine. That's not going to happen, which is, I feel like, what a lot of people were saying about Sam Darnold. Even after his year in Minnesota, nobody wanted to change their mind about Sam Darnold. We do this in football. We are so slow to change our minds about a guy when in our minds he's already sucked. Like Baker Mayfield, it took us a minute for us to really rewire our brains. I'm like, no, Baker Mayfield's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Daniel Jones, it took me like half the season to be like, okay, all right, Daniel Jones is different. But with Sam Darnold, we were even slower to do it. It was like winning 14 games with the Vikings wasn't enough. We were like, yeah, but it's KOC and it's Justin Jefferson and the defense was good. We didn't want to give him any sort of credit. So, I mean, winning a Super Bowl, there is no better validation of vindication. And people might push back on that and say, yeah, well, he didn't have to do much in the Super Bowl, which doesn't take away from the fact that he won a Super Bowl. But it's also not like he's a Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer type of Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like the Seahawks aren't in the Super Bowl without what Sam Darnold did in the NFC Championship game. I mean, in that NFC Championship game, as elite shut down as that Seahawks defense was, as great as that Rams defense was, the defenses were kind of a non-factor in that game. Like that was mano-a-mano, Matthew Stafford, league MVP, brightest offensive coach in the game versus Sam Darnold. Go shot for shot. And Sam Darnold won. Like Sam Darnold won that shot for shot matchup against the league MVP. So I don't know how anyone could not give Sam Darnold credit. Sure, he had a good defense around him. Sure, he had one of the best receivers in the league around him. But don't all great quarterbacks have pieces around them as well? Like, didn't Brady need Gronk and Julian Edelman? Like, didn't Patrick Mahomes also need Travis Kelce and Chris Jones defensively? Like, we talk about quarterbacks like it's only them and they're just surrounded by a bunch of scrubs, and we discount good, not elite quarterbacks for winning Super Bowls or getting far in the postseason because they have elite pieces around them. We don't do that to Brock Purdy. We don't do that to Jalen Hurts. So why are we doing that to Sam Darnold? So I do hope that you feel validated and vindicated because you 1000% are. You should be.
That was very, very kind. Does that then give reasons to be nervous about Mike Borgonzi running the Titans? Because the Titans basically turned their back to Darnold. Nick Suss reported that the coaching staff had interest in Darnold, but the front office was like, oh, well, we would only win 7 games, and who gives a rat's ass if we win 7 games? And we're building for the future with Cam. And does that give you hesitation? Again, they won 3 games this year. They won 3 games last year, so they didn't even improve by a single game. Does that give you reason for hesitation? Or are you like all these bozos out there that are like, no, Cam's going to be Mahomes?
Well, you led me into that question, calling everybody else a bozo. I think the Titans would have been better with Sam Darnold, but all of that waxing poetic that I just did about Sam Darnold, we also have to acknowledge that Sam Darnold, like a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, is going to be a product of the pieces that you put around him. Does Sam Darnold win the Super Bowl if he has crap receivers, no offensive line, and a bottom of the NFL defense? No. I don't think any quarterback in the NFL would. So I don't think that Sam Darnold would all of a sudden make the Titans a Super Bowl contender. I don't think Sam Darnold makes the Titans even a playoff team. Does he make them 10% better? Yeah, like I would buy into that. So I don't know how much of it was the front office was like, no on Sam Darnold because we don't believe in Sam Darnold, or no on Sam Darnold because we don't believe in paying him $40 million a year when we have to put as much around him as we would need to. The difference in drafting Cam Ward is we have him on a rookie deal and we can afford to put the pieces around him with him on a rookie deal versus paying a Sam Darnold $40 million a year and needing the same amount of pieces around him. But I mean, yeah, is there anything that you've seen from the Titans that would give you encouragement about Mike Borgonzi? It's not just the Sam Darnold situation. It's the entire roster as a whole. Like, I heard you talking before I hopped on that he's on the hot seat. He should be on the hot seat. This team sucks. Everyone should be on the hot seat. Everyone should feel uncomfortable.
Caroline Fenton with us. What do you make about Vrabel? What do you make about the fact that Vrabel did get to the Super Bowl? What do you make about the path that Vrabel had to get to the Super Bowl? And I said that he's the luckiest coach, with that path to get to the Super Bowl. Everybody in Boston and Barstool Sports got mad at me. And then again, talking about validation and vindication, the Seahawks beat the Patriots by more than the Colts beat the Bears by in the 2006 Super Bowl. But at the same time, now Vrabel's got a Will Campbell problem on his hands, and everybody just thinks that, hey, Vrabel will get back to the Super Bowl and Drake May and the Patriots. And I'm like, it's not that simple. Growth is not linear. What do you make of Vrabel? What do you make of the Patriots?
The Will Campbell problem. Have we heard that story before? Vrabel drafts a left tackle out of college early in the draft, and everybody says, all the metrics say, all the measurements say that guy's really not a left tackle, but you're going to draft him with a premier draft pick anyway. I've heard that before. Look, Mike Vrabel's a good coach. You don't accidentally get to the Super Bowl, whether you're playing a bunch of Pee-wee programs along the way or not. Like, you have to be a good coach. You have to be a well-coached team in order to find your path to the Super Bowl. But we also have to acknowledge the Patriots' path to the Super Bowl was probably one of the luckiest in the history of the NFL. Like, I'm always very hesitant to say the blankest in the history of the NFL because, like, I don't know what the path to the Super Bowl was in 1967. But I would say this is probably the clearest path in my lifetime that I remember. When you have a postseason in the AFC with no Joe Burrow, with no Patrick Mahomes, with no Lamar Jackson, your path was a Chargers team that doesn't have an offensive line and Justin Herbert that is allergic to winning games in the playoffs. When CJ Stroud is a double agent, he should have been wearing a Patriots jersey in that game. And then a snow blizzard game with Jarrett Stidham. That's your path to the Super Bowl? I think both things can be true. I think both things can be fairly said that Mike Vrabel is a good coach with a team that's ahead of schedule with a quarterback in year 2. And also, they were lucky. They had a fortunate draw in the postseason. So yes, you're right. He does have a Will Campbell problem. This is the same thing and the perfect example of why it's so hard for me to trust Mike Vrabel, even acknowledging that he is a good coach. He's stubborn as hell. He makes the same mistakes over and over again. And we saw it with Will Campbell. That was probably the biggest wart of Super Bowl Sunday, was just how out of place Will Campbell looked. That was a Mike Vrabel decision, taking a guy who's probably a guard in the NFL, putting him at left tackle and drafting him with the 4th overall pick.
Yeah, I don't know what they're like. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you get a left tackle when you're picking 31st in the draft. But I do know this. If I was just running the Patriots and I got hired today to run the Patriots, I would be evaluating left tackle. Like, I would look at the free agent board. I would look at who's out there. I would look at the draft. Okay, we're picking 31st. I'm not going to try to trade up to 8 to draft a left tackle, and there are probably not ready to go in the NFL left tackles that are on the board after about the 6th pick in a draft. So I'm not going to draft one unless there's a guy at 31 that can actually play left tackle, but I would investigate it. And if there ended up being a guy that could play left tackle that I could sign in free agency or draft at 31, I would do that, and then I would move Will Campbell into guard. I just don't think Vrabel can do that. And the reason I don't think Vrabel can do that is because Vrabel picked him 4th. And I don't think that the ego of Vrabel can live with the idea of, I picked him 4th. Even Vrabel knows he can't pick a guard 4th. I have to play him at left tackle because I can't play a guard whom I picked at 4. And to me, that's the Vrabel ego that leads to negative downside of the great Mike Vrabel.
That's the part of why I have such a hard time trusting Vrabel. It's the ego. It's the not willing to accept when you're wrong. And I think that kind of ego is necessary when you're a football coach. I think that kind of ego is also what makes Vrabel great and what makes Mike Vrabel really likable. It's also ultimately his downfall, or what was his downfall in Tennessee's, making the same mistake over and over again. And it's crazy to me how a lot of people can't acknowledge that or can't see that. Like, whenever I tell people, oh, yeah, I used to cover Mike Vrabel back in Tennessee, it's always, oh my gosh, how did they fire him? And I was like, I don't know. Did you watch the last 2 years of the Mike Vrabel experience in Tennessee? Like, sure, looking in hindsight, you can say, what a bad move. Year 1 in New England with a year 2 quarterback and a roster that's not necessarily a top 1 in the NFL, gets them to the Super Bowl. Like, yes, that does make the Titans look stupid. But also, let's look back to the last 2 years in Tennessee. It was a roster that didn't have enough around it because you spent high, investment draft picks on players that weren't impact players. And that hurts. Over time, that's going to show warts on your roster over time. So I do wonder at what point, it's not now, you're coming off of the Super Bowl. Yes, it was an embarrassing loss. And yes, there are plenty of people wanting to nitpick the validity of this Patriots season. It's still the Super Bowl. So it's not going to happen now. I don't think it's going to happen in the next couple of years. I do wonder at what point, what is going to be the domino that falls for Patriots fans to fall out of love with Mike Vrabel a little bit, because I do think it's inevitable because he is making the same mistakes over and over again.
Okay, I want to hit the YouTube chat, and then I want to go with some lightning round questions for you.
Okay,
and what I mean by hitting the YouTube chat is I want the YouTube chat, like, I want you to, the YouTube chat gets mad about things I say. I want you to judge, like, basically fair or foul one way or another. Adam in Portland says, Lamar Jackson is not a Hall of Famer. That is now the dumbest thing you said today. I believe Lamar Jackson is a future Hall of Famer. Do you think that that's dumb?
I don't think that's dumb. He's a 2-time MVP. Could have been a 3-time MVP. I don't think that's dumb at all. No.
How many 2-time MVPs are not in the Hall of Fame?
How many 2-time MVPs have we had in the history of the NFL?
I mean, again, the guys I can think of off the top of my head,
Aaron Rodgers,
Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, Manning, Favre,
and those guys have Super Bowls, so they have other things that are boosting up their resume a little bit. But let's take away, Aaron Rodgers has one. Like, would you tell me that Aaron Rodgers is not a Hall of Famer if he didn't have that one Super Bowl? I don't think so. And Lamar Jackson's career isn't over. He's 28? Lamar's still young. He's been in the league for a long time, so we think he's closer to the end than he actually is. So no, I don't think that's crazy.
I think if Lamar quit today, he'd still be in the Hall of Fame. Okay, Second person says, Sam Darnold turning around a Pee Wee football program to 9 wins is easily the dumbest take of the year. You did see my EPA breakdown, EPA per play. Again, that's the only metric that we have to go off of. Fair or foul?
9 wins. 9 wins.
That's how bad Cam Ward was this year. Nobody wants to admit it.
With this crap team, though, and look, I will acknowledge Cam Ward didn't show you anything overly great. Like, is anybody nationally talking about Cam Ward? I know it's the Titans, but if Cam Ward was worth talking about, he'd be talking about. But I don't think Sam Darnold is the difference between 3 wins and 9 wins.
Well, so here's what I would say. Again, the EPA take was that they would have been 8-9, which is adding 9 points to the Titans every game because of how many points. Again, according to EPA, you know that's not a number I made up. So
according to liked EPA.
I don't, but it's the only thing that like says, hey, here is the value that Jared didn't make up in his head that somebody says Cam is and the value that somebody says Sam is. It's the only thing that we have to go off of. It's like Pro Football Focus for offensive linemen. They have no idea what offensive linemen are supposed to do in Pro Football Focus. Like, was he supposed to block? Was he supposed to pull? Was he supposed to? You don't know.
Yeah.
But they judge him anyways, and it's the only thing we have to go off of. So until the teams start releasing their own grades, fuck it, that's what we'll go off of. So with the EPA taking in what Cam cost the Titans and what Sam gave the Seahawks, you know, it would be 9 points a game. That would add 5 wins. That would make them 8-9. And my point is that 8-9, I think that's fair to win 8 games, a 5-game improvement. Seattle won 10 games last year. Sam goes in there. They win 4. Minnesota won 14 games last year. He leaves. They win 9. So his value between those two teams was 4.5 wins. I feel like saying his value is 5 wins is not crazy.
I also don't think it's a coincidence that, and we were talking about Justin Jefferson as the best receiver in the National Football League last year. And we were before. That's not like a new thing. That wasn't just a 2024 thing. How much did you talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba before this season?
He was, according to Madden Football, I use their rankings because, again, these are all subjective anyways. And so going into the season, Jackson Smith-Njigba was the 22nd ranked receiver in Madden Football at 86 overall, 2 points ahead of Ladd McConkey.
So, yeah. And now we're talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba in the same conversation as Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, if we're not even talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba being above those receivers in our, hierarchy of receivers. It's not just Sam Darnold. Like, I do have to give KOC some credit in Minnesota. I have to give Clint Kubiak a whole lot of credit in Seattle. It's not just Sam Darnold, but I also don't think that we can just ignore 2024 Minnesota, 2025 Seattle, and the fact that everyone around Sam Darnold has been elevated in those 2 seasons.
Plus, don't you think that the addition of Abdul Carter, Jaden Higgins, and Nicky Manwari would have represented 1 win for the Titans?
I love Nicky Manwari.
I was begging on the day of the draft for Manwari. I texted Jordan Rogers because, I didn't really watch a lot of South Carolina football. And I said, how good is Manwari? And Jordan Rogers was like, he's a fucking stud.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I want him. At 35, I was like, I want him. And then they traded him, and they ended up with Oladeja, who stinks, and Winston, who's hurt. And it's like.
And Abdul Carter is probably. I talked to you last Super Bowl in New Orleans. You said, who would you take with the number 1 overall pick? I said Abdul Carter. I would have taken Abdul Carter. And then was it the knee or the foot or whatever the injury was? There's a lot of reports of him being kind of an asshole. So, I was a little bit of pause on Abdul Carter. But at the time, I would have taken it with the number 1 overall pick.
I do want to get to some of your thoughts as well. One guy says, Will Campbell will be Vrabel's downfall. You know what I think the downfall for this is the one thing I'm looking at for Vrabel. And tell me if I'm wrong about this. So Vrabel was asked about Zach Kerr, who I think was the linebackers coach this year. Terrell Williams gets sick. Terrell Williams leaves the team. Kerr becomes the play caller, the de facto defensive coordinator. There were a lot of rumors at the end of the year when Shane Bowen got fired in New York that the Patriots were going to hire Shane Bowen to be the defensive coordinator.
No.
I am keeping my eye on this. If Vrabel makes Zach Kerr the defensive coordinator over bringing back Bowen, then I will say, okay, there's growth to Mike Vrabel. If Vrabel brings in Shane Bowen to be defensive coordinator, that's all I need to know about Vrabel. Is that fair or is that harsh?
That is so fair. Because it goes back to what I just said. He does the same shit over and over and over again, and he never gets held accountable for it. We saw it with Peter Skoronski, copy paste Will Campbell, and he gave up 14 quarterback pressures in the Super Bowl. He was exposed, and everyone kind of had the writing on the wall going into the draft process. I think everyone had Will Campbell going up really high in the draft. That wasn't just like a pull out of nowhere, but everybody did caution about the length of Will Campbell's arms. And it makes sense. I know that we talk a lot about hand size, arm length, those little measurables at the combine. We kind of scoff at it. We kind of laugh at it. But this is a game of inches. And the difference in some of these games could be the quarter inch of the length of arm that Will Campbell doesn't have, that a defensive end does. So you are spot on there. If I see that Vrabel hires Shane Bowen, I will roll my eyes into oblivion, because how stupid can you be?
Do you think Vrabel's going to hire Shane Bowen?
Yes. Of course I do. I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to see the growth of Mike Vrabel, but yeah, 100% I do.
I completely expect Shane Bowen to be the defensive coordinator of the Patriots. In fact, when Vrabel said, and Vrabel never just gives things away and says, yeah, this is what we're going to do. But when Vrabel said, well, we got a lot to work through, I thought that, because I think Terrell Williams is too sick to return as defensive coordinator. I hope I'm wrong about that. I don't have any sourcing on that, but I just think that. But when Vrabel, I think Vrabel wants to bring Bowen in there, and I think that's what's going to happen. Okay, Super Bowl 60.
Yes.
What was your favorite part of the week, on air or off air?
Ooh, favorite part of the week. That's a great question. Had fun at Club Shay Shay. I had fun at the volume party. It was a fun little who's who of everything. On air, I got to interview Justin Jefferson and, take my LSU fandom out of it, and obviously my own personal fandom for Justin Jefferson. Talk to him about JJ McCarthy. And it is so obvious and so clear how frustrated Justin Jefferson is with that organization. So it was just fun to be able to talk to him about that. Talk to Ryan Fitzpatrick about the Jets and why do the Jets suck so bad? Why can the Jets not find a solution at the quarterback position? And Ryan Fitzpatrick, obviously, he went to Harvard. He's a very smart guy. We hear all of his breakdowns on TV. But it was cool to kind of go into his mind a little bit, look at more the philosophy of being a quarterback, the philosophy of developing a quarterback. So those were probably the two highlights. Oh, and also we broke a little news on Yahoo Sports Daily. Jay Glazer came on the show and instantly delivered a zinger and said that he thinks Max Crosby, or basically said that Max is done in Vegas. So that, stirred a whole lot of Raiders fans. So that was very, very fun. I went to a Wags brunch on Friday.
You were talking about this. I was in transit from San Jose to Nashville when this all went down. But basically, didn't you tell me it was like an influencer brunch and you were the only serious media person there that wasn't?
Not the only one.
This is my lip gloss I use on Instagram and TikTok.
Not the only one, but we were outnumbered 100%. So it was Christian Juszczyk and Claire Kittle. They have a podcast. So they hosted this women in sports brunch on Friday. So I was like, cool, I'll go after my show. Fun, meet some new people in the industry. Great, cool, whatever. I walk in and everyone has a fancy little camera. Everybody's taking pictures. They're passing out caviar. I was like, whoa. And I'm all of these influencers are walking around, people I recognize from Instagram, people that I follow. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? I was fully expecting to walk into a room full of reporters, walk in, and it's not my wheelhouse. It was very fun. I made a lot of new friends. I definitely felt like the least fancy person there. But it was a good time. And a lot of influencers. I took a lot of photos of other people.
At your influencer party. Do you think I would have enjoyed the influencer party?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I got a nice little, it's right by my laptop. I got a nice little goodie bag.
What's in it?
It is, we'll do an unboxing here.
Have you actually opened it, or you haven't opened it yet?
Yeah, no, I haven't. Of course I've opened it. I want to see what I got. There's caviar at this party. I wanted to see what was in this bag.
There was caviar at every party.
Oh, was it really? How many parties did you go to last week that had caviar?
The volume party had caviar.
Did they?
Yeah, remember they walked around. First of all, the food at the volume party, I didn't really eat much because I went to a party before that, like a happy hour or whatever before that, and they had these like grilled chicken sliders. And you know me, like I'm chicken everything. So for me, I had eaten so many grilled chicken sliders that I just wasn't in the mood for any of the food at the volume party. But the volume party had like great
There's like
food.
so many dumplings. I saw
So many, like,
Colin over
Asian
there
food.
just like hunched over the dumplings.
So, and then, so they had caviar there.
Didn't
Club Shay Shay had like
pizza.
random pizza. And me and
It
you, by the way,
wasn't
let me say, it hit because
It
we
was
got to
not
Club
bad.
Shay Shay. We probably got to Club Shay Shay at what, like 11:30 Pacific time?
Yeah.
And we just wanted to like go to Club Shay Shay so that we could say that we went to the Club Shay Shay party.
I didn't really want to go, but
My
I got
feet.
peer pressured into it. I was glad I did, but I was starving.
I don't know if I shared this with you at the time.
Your Uber Eats order?
My back was locking up on me at the volume party.
Oh God.
Like it was this happened to me randomly at a wedding. Lindsay and I went to a wedding in Cincinnati, and after the wedding was over, I got out of the Uber. And when I got out of the Uber, my back just completely locked up and like I could not move for about 5 or 6 seconds. And then everything was back to normal. It's awful. It feels like.
Are you getting old?
It feels like I was paralyzed for like 5 or 6 seconds. And that flared up like a couple of times at the volume party.
Oh, that's scary.
So when we went back upstairs that second time, so after Jeff Schwartz left us, and we went upstairs, and it was me and you and Hutton and Withrow and the guys from Fox Sports Radio. And when we were up there, I was leaning up against the bar because my back had locked up on me so much. And at one point, I walked down the steps backwards, like holding onto the rail because my back was hurting. And so I was just into Club Shay Shay, out of Club Shay Shay. It was cool. I did get a little bro hug with Shannon in there for a second. And
you did. Dare I say the New Orleans Club Shay Shay was better than San Francisco Club Shay Shay?
The San Francisco Club Shay Shay was weird.
It was
like,
a little weird.
New Orleans Club Shay Shay was like in this giant restaurant. You could just go wherever and see whoever and talk to whoever.
It was at like Nobu. At Caesars.
Was that a Nobu?
It was at Caesars.
I just remember it was inside a giant mall.
There's like a shopping mall at Caesars, which is very smart of them, like the Vegas effect of like you go, get drunk, win a bunch of money, blow all your money at the Louis Vuitton store. But yeah, I don't know what it was. I think at the San Francisco Club Shay Shay, I was kind of over it. I was tired. My feet hurt. You Uber Eats to Epsom salt because your feet hurt.
I did Uber Eats Epsom salt to the hotel, and I got back to the hotel.
It was
this beautiful tub at the Westin, and I just stuck my feet in the Epsom salt for like 12 minutes. And then when I got out of the soaking and my feet were just like I was laying on the bed, my feet were killing me. I was walking like 8 miles a day at the Super Bowl. My feet started to feel like they were plumping up like hot dogs on the little rollers. It just felt so
like at a 7-Eleven.
Oh, my feet just felt so nice. I was so happy with that. And then I went to the CAA party the next day. I went to the Belief party, and then there was a break between the Belief party and the CAA party. And what was crazy was Braun Husteman, who is the CEO of Believe, he came on the show Friday. Braun and I talked at the Believe happy hour, the Believe party, for like an hour and a half. And Cal Ripken Jr.'s son was there. He's got a show in Baltimore. It's actually a pretty good show, the Ryan Ripken Show. And I had seen some cuts of Ryan Ripken's. I didn't know that Ryan Ripken was Cal Ripken's kid, but it was kind of us. And I got to know this Ryan Ripken and his crew. They're very, very nice people, and they do a very good show in Baltimore. But so Braun and I talked for a while, and then we left the Believe party, and I was going to invite him to the CAA party, but he was going to the Athletes First party. And so he was like, do you want to go to the Athletes First party? And I was like, do you want to go to the CAA party? And that's like the Hatfields. Well, that's like the Hatfields versus the McCoys.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, so we went our separate way. And there was no point in catching Ubers in San Francisco. If everything was downtown, everything was a 15-minute walk from the next thing. And so I walked with this little break. I hit a dispensary, which is legal there, ate a gummy, walked to the CAA party, and then was at the CAA party till like midnight, 1 a.m. The entire NFL was at that CAA party.
I
And
should have
then
gone.
I invited you.
I know. I went to dinner with Fitz and my producer, some of the Fox Sports Radio people, my agent, your agent, and after that, I hit a wall. I was my feet hurt. I was tired. I was losing my voice, and I had to fly out. That was what, Thursday night, right?
Thursday night, yeah.
I flew out Friday night on a red eye. I have to wake up tomorrow, get ready for my show, have everything packed up, bring my suitcase down, like be ready to leave for the day. And that was the day of my influencer party. That was I went and called dinner with a friend. I had like all of these things that I was doing on Friday and had all of these coordinating things. It was just overwhelming to the thought of being out until midnight or 1 a.m. that night before.
So
now.
I'm just gonna let everybody in on that. I taped Friday show on Thursday.
Smart.
And so I had a bunch of canned stuff, Mad Dog, Warren Moon, that stuff. I all taped it on Thursday and then dropped it on Friday. And so I remember I packed and then went to the Believe and uploaded the Friday show, went to the Believe happy hour. And I went to the Believe happy hour because I felt like I owed it to them because they took such good care of me. I love being a part of the Believe Podcast Network on YouTube, but I felt like they took such good care of me at the Super Bowl because the NFL denied a credential for me until Believe stepped in.
Mhm.
And Braun, is a really, really nice guy. And Cam that really runs their day-to-day operations, he helped out a lot. So I felt like I kind of owed it to him, and I went in and it was freaking packed. And I ended up staying until the very, very end with Braun, and I ended up leaving. And so when I got back to the hotel from the CAA party at like 1 a.m, I packed everything up. I woke up at 7, took an hour car to the San Jose airport where I flew a direct from San Jose to B&A. It felt like a private jet.
That's
like
so
in the
nice.
middle of the day, kind of got to leave on my own terms. It was Southwest, but now Southwest is charging for bags and they're doing assigned seating. There was nobody on this flight. It was awesome. It felt like a private jet. I slept anyways, but if I didn't want to, the internet's free now because I've got the Southwest credit card. And it felt like a private jet, as close to a private jet as you can get with Southwest. And they got new planes that are actually kind of nice. So
is that the one that you think Amy Adams Strunk flew DeAndre Hopkins on?
No, I don't think those planes existed back
Southwest
then.
private?
Got 2 free bags at that point.
That's
you know what's
true.
crazy though about the Super Bowl?
On her point, or on her side of things.
This was my 4th Super Bowl, and every year I feel like I learn more about the Super Bowl to know, like, okay, next year when I go to the Super Bowl, I want to do this. Next year when I go to the Super Bowl, I want to do that. This was my 4th Super Bowl, and in previous years, when it had gotten to Friday and people left on Friday, I thought, man, I wish I was leaving on Friday. But then every year I convince myself that, no, I want to stay for the parties on Friday. And I end up staying and regretting it. And this year on Monday and Tuesday, I was like, man, I hate that I'm leaving on Friday. Like I would love to leave on Friday I would love to stay for Friday for everything. And when it got to Thursday, I was like, praise the Lord that I am leaving tomorrow.
Yeah, I made the mistake of leaving Saturday morning in New Orleans. Terrible decision because there was a parade going on right in front of my hotel, the Best Western off Canal Street. So it was impossible to get out. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to leave Friday. Like I'm going to try and leave Friday right after the show. I couldn't leave on Saturday anyway because I was staying in one of the NFL hotels. And if you stay on Friday night, you have to stay the whole weekend. Like they want they want to keep those rooms open for people that are actually coming for the Super Bowl. Sure. So I was like, okay, I'll just get a flight out right after my show on Friday, get home as soon as possible. There was one at like 1 p.m. A show was done at 11 p.m. Pacific time. No way I could have made it to SFO in time for my flight 2 hours after my show wrapped. The other flight on Friday, there were some with stops. I don't do that. I fly direct. The only one was at like 11:30 p.m. So I think that taking a red eye out on Friday is the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because you have to take up all this time on Friday when people are still working. You get home Saturday morning, so you're super tired. You don't sleep on the flight, but you're staying there all day just up in time to not be able to go to some of the parties.
Here's the other problem that you haven't run into yet. You don't have kids. And The last two Super Bowls,
This is true.
it's as soon as I walk in the door, it's like, here.
Yeah.
And that is like, again, I kind of slept on the flight. So I got home at 4:00 when I walked in here. And it was like, all right, I get to parent for 2 hours and then Jack goes to bed. Last year, I flew back in first thing from New Orleans on Saturday morning, and it was here, and we had to go to a birthday party. And this is not like the Vegas Super Bowl where I got to lay in bed. The Phoenix Super Bowl, I got back on Saturday morning, and my dad picked me up from the airport, dropped me off at the house, and I laid in bed all day.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I did on Saturday.
Can't do that. Cannot do that with a kid. Something that I guess I have learned in that regard. My favorite thing about the Super Bowl, it's kind of off air, kind of on air. So Andrew Fitzpatrick is a great guy. He does the booking for SiriusXM. He is PR guy for SiriusXM. Whenever I need something from an individual person at SiriusXM, I go to Andrew Fitzpatrick. And so I reached out to Andrew Fitzpatrick and I was like, hey, I'd like to get the guys that we always get on. I'd like to get Solomon Wilcots on. We got him on. I'd like to get Adam Shine on. We got Adam Shine on. I said, I'd like to get Mad Dog on. And he was like, hey, man, Doggy's schedule is tight, but I'll try to figure it out. And the last day, Fitzpatrick was like, can he do Friday? And I was like, I'm not going to be here Friday. So if they had said, like, I'm sorry, but we thought you were going to be here Friday, and that's all Dog could do. And because, like, Wednesday, they didn't come on Monday. They came on Tuesday. So Monday's totally out, which Dog has come on the show, I think, on Monday in the past. So that's out. Dog is on First Take on Wednesday, so that's out. And then it's like, so Thursday was really the only day, and Dog was doing Fox, NFL Network, and San Francisco radio, and that was the host radio network. So I went up to Fitzpatrick, and I was like, is there any shot we can get Dog, to come on the show? I know. And he was like, look, I have to talk to Dog about this because it's his schedule. And so if Dog wants to stay and do your show, then he can do it. But if not, Dog goes, oh, I'm definitely doing Jared's show. I got to do Jared's. And
Were you fangirling?
Well, it wasn't a fangirl moment as much as it was like, man, like that's Mad Dog Russo doing that because he respects me and I'm on his channel. And that for me was like, it made me feel like, like Dog cared about me or Dog respects me or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if Dog even knows who I am. Every year he comes on every year and tells me I'm a really good talk show host. And although he did say, he's like, we talked about Tannehill in the past. And I'm like, we have talked about Tannehill in the past. So I guess he does kind of remember that stuff. But
Dog doesn't remember anyone's name that plays a sport. And he can't really remember the words of idioms and how they go together. But he does remember when you talk about Ryan Tannehill. He remembers the important things. He
does remember those things. And so that was kind of one of my favorite moments.
Speaking of Sirius, I interviewed Hendon Hooker I was on SiriusXM College Sports Radio on Tuesday and Wednesday with Jacob Hester. So we got a bunch of people, but most of like the college guys we got for that week. So we got Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton. So like I interviewed Doug Flutie. I interviewed Barry Sanders. I interviewed Christian McCaffrey. I interviewed so many people. Say that not to flex. I say that because I got more, I had more people reaching out about my interview with Hendon Hooker than anyone else. Like superstars in the league right now, legends of the game, Hall of Famers are I talked to, but it was Hendon Hooker that people were like, this is crazy. This is sick. I'm like, you Tennessee fans.
Hendon I actually talked with Hooker.
Celebrity on Radio Row.
I actually talked with Hooker for a while. He was getting ready to do Westwood One Radio, which was right next to me.
Yeah.
At Believe. And he was just and so we just chatted for maybe 10 minutes. And I'm like, he's an impressive young kid.
He is.
I really liked him. The other one thing for me too was Warren Moon. So usually I book Warren in advance, but I didn't book Warren in advance this year. And Warren was set to do Westwood One. And Warren's person came over and was like, hey, Warren's good for 15 minutes from now. And I was like, hey, can we get Warren on in Nashville? And the handler was like, I mean, we can ask, but if Warren's going to do it, it's going to have to be right now. And we're only going to get 10 minutes. And it's only if Warren wants to. I said, okay.
Fine. Yeah.
So then Warren came on the show because, Warren always comes on the show. And I think Nashville's big for Warren because he is the bridge to the Oilers era of the Titans franchise. Like, he represents the Houston part of that franchise. And Warren came on the show, and I heard one of Warren's handlers say to another one of Warren's handlers, they both had these like these papers and stapled together, and a guy was like, Warren says he has to do this show. He wants to do this show. And I was like, yes, Warren, you are the man. So that I enjoyed as well.
Look at you being a popular show on Radio Row.
I really don't want to get you involved in this, but
oh God.
When the radio station and I decided to go our separate ways, somebody very wise who never technically worked for me, but kind of worked for me, like as an associate, said to me, she said, you're going to think that your identity is in the station, but the truth is that the station's identity was you. And I knew that was true, but when I went to the Super Bowl and just to see like the people that wanted to come on my show, even though my show is not in the same place that it was before, I kind of felt that. Again, I'm not here to talk about the fact that my old employer, your old employer, they weren't at the Super Bowl. They would never pay to send somebody out to the Super Bowl. But it was just that, like, Mad Dog wanted to do my show and Warren wanted to do, and that did mean a lot to me. It's not like just the standard, okay, you're on this one. It was no, Warren wants to do the show. No, Mad Dog wants to make time to the show. And that is important to me. And I hope that I treat people that way too. Like, if it ever happens to me, like, I hope that's how I treat people, when I get older.
I mean, so I think you could say this about every industry. It's so much of a people business. It's so much who you are kind to, who you build relationships with. When you give people the time of day, people remember that. But especially in such a personable business that we live in, like, relationships are everything. Like, if you treat a producer with respect, 10 years from now, that producer might be repping some of the biggest names in our industry, and they'll be like, yeah, no. I want to make sure that I seek out that person because they always used to take care of me. So I'm glad that you had that experience.
Trying to think if there's anything else that we didn't cover your thoughts on the halftime shows, Bad Bunny and Turning Point USA.
Well, I didn't watch the latter.
I did.
I'm good on I Wanna Fish. I'm okay with that. That's not for me. I love Bad Bunny. Like, Bad Bunny was one of my top artists on my Spotify Wrapped last year. So I was going to love it no matter what. But I just thought it was entertaining. Like, I thought it was fun. It was people dancing around. There were a bunch of little Easter eggs. There was so much symbolism. Everybody was shaking their booty. I saw this one, I don't even remember. It was maybe Chris Long's podcast. He was like, I've never seen so many white men hate looking at big booty Latinas on their TV. But that's what it was. It was a lot. It was people having fun, like dancing around, having a good time. Like, I enjoyed it.
I flipped over to the Turning Point USA one just because I wanted to see what that looked like.
Because you love Kid Rock.
Hey, I do have a Kid Rock story. I used to really, really like Kid Rock. I mean, I don't know. Has Kid Rock put out a new song in 15 years?
Even if he has, I don't know if I'd be able to tell you what it is.
Like, I remember Cowboy back in the day, and that one was freaking popular.
That was a banger.
Ball with the Ball and American Badass, and I turned on the Turning Point one because I wanted to see what it looked like. And quite
Wasn't
frankly,
it just like an empty auditorium?
No, there were people there, but it looked like, I said this earlier in the week, live from the Hillbilly Awards with special performances by Kid Rock. It was not good. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. It was bullshit. Like, when you're like, we're going to put together our own halftime show, you need to have like the pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
And at one point, this guy was like, I wrote this song with Colt Ford and Mr. Jason Aldean. This is not a concert. Like, the
who cares? Get on with
halftime
it.
show is song. There's no transition because it's 14 minutes and you got to go. And if you're going to try to do the Super Bowl halftime show, you have to do the Super Bowl halftime show. And they didn't do it. And that was just kind of my thing on it. Your thoughts on San Francisco as a Super Bowl city?
I am of the belief that New Orleans is the greatest host city for any event. You and I talked about this at Club Shay Shay. I think New Orleans is the perfect city for any big event, for a national championship game, for a Super Bowl. It's a smaller city. It's walkable. And you can run into people on the street. You can walk everywhere. The little area that we were confined to in San Francisco, yes, it was nice. It was walkable. But there were like so many people from Yahoo that were there that I never saw because they were staying in Santa Clara because the majority of the things that they were doing for Yahoo were happening at the stadium. So I feel like there was like a whole half of the week of Radio Row and of the Super Bowl that I just didn't see or, didn't witness because it was 2.5 hours away. And New Orleans has great restaurants. You can choose your own adventure. If you want to go eat, if you want to go drink, if you want to go have fun, if you want to go to the clubs, you can do those things. It offers that. And it's cost effective. I thought San Francisco was fun. It was better than I thought it would be because it was so much more confined than I thought it would be. It was good. Not my favorite, but it was good.
Caroline Fenton, ladies and gentlemen, Yahoo Sports Daily, which, by the way, I have found on the free TV channels that come with every smart TV. In fact, my little Samsung TV right here that has us on it right now, which I use for my office and my gym, and it's on the little roller thing. You know all about that. It is now set up so that when I turn it on, it starts on the Yahoo Sports channel, which does have Yahoo Sports Daily, which is why I texted you this morning, and I was like, who the hell is this guy you're talking to about Dorito chips? Yeah. And you're like, yeah, he's got 50 million YouTube subscribers. I'm like, never mind. Get him on my show.
Yep. He was talking to us. He went to Greece and Giannis was giving him like a one-on-one tour of his hometown. Like this kid he's like the streamer influencer, like of all streamers. But I don't think that you're necessarily his demographic. Yes, of course.
Does Yahoo Sports get paid for that?
I don't
like it's their money to be made from having a free channel on the free TV.
Oh, from the fast channels?
Yeah. Like Jim Rome has his own channel on all of those. And I would love to know, like, is Jim Rome making money off of that? Or is Jim Rome just trying to be seen at this point in his career?
Honestly, I don't know. I would assume if we're doing it, there is money to be made from it. But also at the same time, like there's no ads. So I don't know how you make money from it. It could just be like the Yahoo Sports Network is very much so in its infancy. So, I mean, it may be just as valuable to get eyeballs on the product than it is to get money from ads on the product.